So we're now live.
How are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm not so bad, thank you.
Are we live? Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to another Healthy Heart session where we bring you nutrition education, lifestyle education tailored to the African and Caribbean community. Last Saturday, we had a fantastic talk on general lifestyle management and prevention of type 2 diabetes. And today we want to continue by delving in depth into dietary management and prevention of type 2 diabetes. Now, this topic is really close to most of us because I'm sure we all know one or two people in our families who are living with type 2 diabetes. I've just lost an uncle 2 months ago from complications of type 2 diabetes. So this topic is really close to my heart. And to help us do the discussion today is a very experienced diabetes specialist, Olabisi, who is going to be introducing herself very soon. So we are urging everyone to please interact, put your questions in the chat box. If you are watching from Facebook or YouTube, please drop your questions in there and we are going to address all of these questions for you before the session ends. So it is my pleasure to introduce our diabetes specialist, dietitian Olabisi, to lead today's presentation and discussion. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Can everyone hear me? So I just want to make sure that my voice is quite okay. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Like Dr. Eva said, my name is Olabisi. People call me Ola, and that's absolutely fine. And as you can see, I'm still in my uniform, so I've just finished the clinic today. So pardon my dressing for today. And like Dr. Eva said, my name is Ola. I'm a specialist diabetes dietitian based in West Yorkshire here. And diabetes is quite close to my heart. I'm quite passionate about talking about diabetes. And I know, just like Dr. Eva said, everyone on this meeting or this talk will have one or two people that probably know that lives with type 2 diabetes. And also because statistics and research have shown that African and Afro-Caribbean descent tend to have more risk when it comes to type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm not quite sure what are the reasons is that, but what we quite know is our food is quite very carbohydrate dense. And that's one of the reasons, or that's one of the things we're going to be discussing today. If I just go ahead and share my screen and let me know if you can see my screen. Is that good? Okay.
Yes, we can put it on PowerPoint.
On the slideshow.
Yes, from the beginning. Yeah. Yes, that's good.
Okay, so the topic this evening is going to be a dietary guide into type 2 diabetes management and also prevention in adults. And first and foremost, I want to thank the organizers of CAHN for the wonderful and tremendous job they're doing, raising awareness about health issues and things like this, and also all the organizers. So thank you, Dr. Eva, for the invitation, and also thank you for all the people out there. Now, why do we need to talk about type 2 diabetes, or why do we need to talk about prevention of type 2 diabetes? If anyone is here that was on the call or on the talk last week, Saturday, I'm sure we had a guest and we were told about what type 2 diabetes is and the different management styles and why it's very prominent within African and Caribbean society. And so it's important we understand from a dietary point of view and see how we can manage things better. So, like I said, who I am actually. So I am Olabisi Adeleye. I'm a Nigerian born. I studied here, qualified as a diabetes dietitian a few years ago. I am based in West Yorkshire, practicing in Leeds. And in my years of practicing, I've gained some experience in diabetes, which I still do. Practice here and there, dip my hands into renal diabetes sometimes and weight management. And also have some clinical and nutrition management in things like cardiovascular disease, gastroenterology, so things like IBS and celiac disease. And most importantly, I tend to work with diverse ethnic populations. So it tends to I enjoy seeing how people's food affects their diabetes and how I can help them to manage that better. And again, I just thought we'll talk a little bit about what type 2 diabetes is. And I'm not going to go into the all the things we've learned or with I think Dr. Joyce last Saturday talked about. So I'm not going to go about that, but I just want us to think about what type 2 diabetes is. And the way I try to explain it to my patients when they come to see me in clinic is when you eat food, and especially the food that has something we call carbohydrates, it will break down into something we call glucose. And that's how the body works actually. The body takes this glucose and it takes you through all the cells. Okay. But then it becomes quite tricky if the body is not producing any insulin from the pancreas. And that's what type 2 diabetes is. It's just the body not producing enough insulin, or the amount of insulin the body is producing is not working properly. And then what happens is the blood glucose continue to rise. Is that okay? Now, before I carry on, I just want to say, within the chat box, if anybody has like any questions they've been wanting to ask, like any burning questions or things, maybe myth they've heard about diabetes and diet, maybe we could just kind of have those discussions, or they could put them in the chat box so they don't forget it. I can answer some of them now, and I can answer some of them as towards the end of the session. Is there anyone that wants to put anything in the chat box?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay. So, I mean, people can just put anything in the chat box as we go along, anything that comes to mind, any questions that they've heard before, or something they probably want to clarify, and I'll try and do my best to answer those questions. Okay. So why is the reason we're talking about diet and type 2 diabetes? Now, it is important we become aware that certain risk increases the chances of us getting type 2 diabetes. And when I say us, I'm referring to the African and Caribbean origin. Okay. Some of this risk are what we call non-modifiable risk, something we cannot really do anything about it. So something like the age. So we know that being 40 years and above tend to put us at a greater risk of having type 2 diabetes. Having some pre-existing medical condition like polycystic ovary syndrome, okay, that's for women, they tend to have higher chances of getting type 2 diabetes later on in life, okay? And also being African, that's just our ethnicity, or Caribbean. So we tend to have those risks. But on the flip side, there is some risk we can do something about. And that's about being aware about our weight and also being active, okay? So it's important we know that, or focus about those risks we can do something about and how we can minimize those risks. And also, just to be aware that having uncontrolled diabetes can tend to lead to complications. And earlier on, Dr. Eva was saying how she lost an uncle to diabetes complications. And I tend to say this, diabetes is no longer like a death sentence anymore, where we don't have to kind of have those complications, because things can be better managed either by diet or medications, okay? But the evidence there is uncontrolled type 2 diabetes will lead to complications. So such as amputations, people can develop chronic kidney disease from having their diabetes not controlled. And lastly, I want us to kind of think about how we can start to use diet to kind of manage our diabetes, or also use that diet. What are we eating at the moment? How can we modify what we're eating to actually prevent us from having type 2 diabetes, or actually kind of manage our type 2 diabetes better? Is that okay? Okay. So again, what does it mean to have type 2 diabetes? And I put this slide in here just for people who thought or probably don't know much about diabetes, and they're thinking, how would I know if I have type 2 diabetes? What kind of things should I be looking out for? When I go to the doctors, what should I be saying to the doctors? Okay, so in England at the moment, if you're 40 years and above, they tend to do something called an NHS health check. And everyone should be asking for this check from the GP. And it's a kind of a MOT where you have like a full blood test. And one of the tests they do is the diabetes test. And what they're looking for is what we call HbA1c, which is how much the hemoglobin is attached to the blood glucose levels. And this is how they monitor how well controlled the diabetes is. And ideally, they will do this every 3 to 6 months for people with diabetes, or they might do it annually for people who are not quite diabetes yet. And for this, having those numbers kind of helps to know where we are and how we can kind of control it and get better with our diabetes. So these are the targets we're looking for. So for people who probably don't have diabetes and trying to prevent from having diabetes, if you do your blood test of the surgery, your practice, and they tell you your HbA1c is between 42 and 47, ideally what that means is you have pre-diabetes. And again, what I do say to people is it's important to take the dietary intake very serious at that time, because making changes will stop that prevention or will stop that progression of the diabetes getting to type 2 diabetes. When the diabetes is 48 and over, that's when we've got type 2 diabetes. A better control, or when we have good control, is between 48 and 58. Where we want people that have type 2 diabetes, we want them to be. Because we know more than 58 is showing that they don't have enough control or they don't have good control, and the risk of complications is starting to set in. Okay. Any questions so far before we move on?
There's just a comment. Someone says, my husband has recently been diagnosed with diabetes, but he is in the denial stage. So I'm here to get more information to help him.
And yeah, and that's quite very important. And the reason is because people can have diabetes and not have the symptoms of diabetes, and they'll probably have the diagnosis while they've gone to the doctor. So they haven't particularly felt ill. And some people just think, oh, but this can be happening to me. And so, yes, I've had my patients in the past going through denials. And again, it's having to come to the realizations of it and taking that ownership that's going to help them start making some changes towards their diet. So, because I'm not really here to talk about the nitty-gritty of the medical aspect of diabetes, which I think was really dealt with last week, Saturday, I'm just going to dive straight into the diet side of things. Now, we know that there are different kinds of food groups, okay? So we have the fruit and vegetables, the starchy carbohydrates, which is something like the bread, the potato, the pasta, the rice. Those are kind of starchy carbohydrates. And we call them starchy carbohydrate because they give us energy. And really, these kind of foods, people tend to ask me, if I have type 2 diabetes, should I stop eating pasta? Should I stop eating rice? And my question would be, is that sustainable for you? Because really, these foods gives us energy, okay? Another types of food groups is the milk and dairy. So we have things like the protein, which is the pulses, so our beans, the kidney beans we eat, the red beans, the brown beans, eggs, fish, meat. These are things that build us up. They build the muscles up, okay? And we have the healthy fats. So the sunflower oil, the olive oil, all those kind of healthy fats. And we also have food that are quite processed in junks and quite high in sugars. Okay. And again, it's about knowing this kind of food groups and actually achieving a balanced diet when it comes to maintaining and achieving controlling diabetes. So, what are the three main food that will affect type 2 diabetes or diabetes? So three main food that will affect type 2 diabetes: carbohydrate, protein, and fats. But majorly, what actually affects our diabetes is carbohydrates. Now, these are broken down into glucose. So like I said, we have the starchy carbohydrates, which is things like the bread, the potato, the pasta, the plantain, the yam for us. Then we have the fruit, which is the natural sugars, which has all different kind of fruit that we eat. Now, fruit has sugars in them. And when we have them, the body will break them down into glucose as well. Now, it doesn't mean we can't have fruit. We just have to think about the portion sizes of the fruit we're having. And when I say portion sizes, so I'll give a typical example. I've got a patient where they will say, I don't know why my sugar level is going high. I seem to be doing everything that is right. I eat fruit and vegetables. I try to control my diet. But sometimes when I kind of delve into like further details, they might be having like a bowl of fruit. So they might have one apple, a banana, some watermelon, and strawberries all together. Now, in its real self, that's quite healthy because you're having all your vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, and that's really good for the body. But for someone that have type 2 diabetes, the body's going to treat that food as sugars, and that's going to raise the sugar levels. Okay, so we tend to say you can still have your fruit, but space them out. So if you're going to have a mango, for instance, you're going to have a strawberry, for instance, as a snack. And we tend to say, how do you know what portion to have? Anything that fits in your palm, in your fist, is a portion. So have a portion of it. And that's how to know. And we'll go into details about portion sizes and how we can adjust our portion sizes. And another kind of food that would impact our sugar level is milk, because milk, again, has the natural sugars in there. So when, as African and Caribbeans, we might have things like condensed milk or evaporated milk. Now, besides the fact that these foods have a lot of fats in them, a lot of like saturated fats, they also have a lot of sugars in them. So again, my suggestion would be, if you have like evaporated milk or condensed milk, try to switch it to something less calorific, because then it has less sugars in it. And also things like added sugars. So food that has a lot of sugars in them. So the fizzy drinks. And if I think back into my African food, some of the snacks that we have are quite high in sugars. I'm Nigerian, so we have a lot of puff puff, for instance. So we have a lot of meat pie and chin chin, and they kind of have a lot of sugars in them. And I know there are ways we can modify them. We can have less sugars in them. We can have less flours in them. But also it's about thinking about the quantity we are having and how often we are having it. And also be aware that the body is going to treat it as sugars, and it's going to cause our sugar levels to go high. Is there any comments of, I feel like I can't see the chat box, Dr. Eva.
Yeah, I can help you with a comment. So there's a question from YouTube.
Okay.
It says, how is diabetes now irreversible, but say 5 years ago it wasn't?
So a lot of research has been done, and there's still continuous research being done. So recently, there is this trial done that shows that having low carb diet, very low carb diet, can actually reverse type 2 diabetes. Okay. Now, I guess to say 10 years more, 15 more years, we might be saying a different kind of thing to say about diabetes management, but it's an ongoing research that is happening that is making us to know that yes, if you have type 2 diabetes and it's within a certain amount of years, so the research says if you have type 2 diabetes within the first 6 years of diagnosis, going on a very low calorie diet can help to put those diabetes into remission. Yes.
Just to add to that, could that be also because, we know research evolves. So could it be that back in the days, they were not really providing diabetes patients with very low caloric diets, it could have been, but.
It could have been. And I dare say also, things are evolving these days. 20 years ago, 50 years ago, diabetes was considered to be a death sentence. If you have diabetes, then that's your doom. But we know that that's not the case anymore. We know that people, if you can manage your diabetes, you can live well into like an elderly age, and that's fine. Yeah. So I guess a lot of things has been known or discovered about the food that we eat and also the impact it has on our body. Okay. So, that seems to. Okay. So, I'm not quite sure if anyone has seen this picture before. Has anyone seen this picture before?
Yeah. One of our speakers has shown it on the talk before. Yeah.
Okay. What's our thought about it? I just want to get. I want to get people's thoughts. What do they think? Anyone can talk. You can unmute yourself and talk.
Well, I'm not too sure if people are very familiar with it, but one of our presenters showed it during the presentation. So it's not something that I think a lot of people
know about. Yeah. I think a lot of people are familiar with the general Eat Well guide, which we all use, which is at the surgeries and things like this. So the African and Caribbean Eat Well guide is fairly new, okay? And I think there's still a lot of research or ongoing things to make this much more widely used. I tend to use this in my practice, and that's because I've had patients come to me who are Africans, and when we talk about Eat Well guide, one of the things they say is they can't identify the food on Eat Well guide. And I understand that. So, but with this one, we can all see where things like yam and cassava falls into place. So yam and cassava is things like starchy carbohydrate, the yellow bits, the sweet potatoes, the green banana, the plantain, the breadfruit, and things like, and these are foods that are quite common to African and Caribbeans. And so these foods are starchy carbohydrates, and they will give us energy. And when it comes to managing our diabetes, these are food we want to eat in a very small portion sizes. And also, the green side of things are where we have the vegetables. And I bet to say, I think we have a range of vegetables, which is really, really good. And it's just about getting to know those vegetables and how we can include them in our diet. But also, I think what's quite consistent with this Eat Well guide is taking the snacks out of the plate, which means that the snacks, the high-calorie snacks, are supposed to be considered as something that we have as a treat and not part of our meal, really. So it's something we're supposed to have as a celebration treat or once in a while. So things like the patties, the meat pie, the fried doughs like puff puff or things like that. They're quite high in sugar. The chocolates, the malt beverages, they're quite high in sugars. And so for someone trying to prevent diabetes, we want to reduce the amount. So it actually says to eat less often and in a very small amount. And things like the pink section is where we have the protein, which is where we have things like the beans and the fish and the lean meat and also the pulses, which are quite good. Okay, these are proteins. So protein generally don't have impacts on our sugar levels. If you're having things like beans, if it's a lot of beans, can have little impact on blood glucose levels, but not compared to things like plantain or things like yam. Okay, and then we have things like the dairy and alternatives, so the milk or the cheese, and just to use the oil in a very low portion sizes. And that's why the tiny bit The oil is a very tiny bit section in there. Any questions or comments about the Eat Well guide?
So, not about the Eat Well guide, but there's a question I want to read to you. So, is it advisable to eat one heavy food in the afternoon? African food. I have been doing that for a long time. Is that advisable? So I don't know if this is in relation to type 2 diabetes, given that that's what we are talking about, but I'm assuming so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question in 2 phases. Just because I don't know if that person has type 2 diabetes or they're trying just to prevent having type 2 diabetes. Now, if someone has type 2 diabetes, having just one meal is not advisable, just because when you have that one meal, your sugar level is going to rise up quickly, okay? And for every time the sugar level spikes up, it can start to damage some vessels in the blood, in the cells. And those are the vessels, those are the damages is the one that leads to complications. So if you picture it like you eat a particular food and your sugar levels goes high, we want to kind of have a sugar levels that's quite steady across the day. So again, the basic answer would be, I wouldn't advise it. I would advise having small meals across the days. So a breakfast, a lunch, and an evening meal spread across the day for a very small portion.
Okay, let's take one more question before you continue. So what type of fruits help in the long run against diabetes? I'm not a fruit person, but I'll try if it will make me health-wise.
Okay, so there's no specific fruit that will make you your diabetes better. Okay, but what we try to say is this: I really don't think avoiding any types of food is the best thing. Okay, a little bit of everything is what you want to do. Because making or treating type 2 diabetes like it's a condition where you have to avoid some food, then it comes to a point where your body starts to crave that food. Okay, then it's then difficult to kind of manage the portion sizes of those foods to have. So you're going to say something, Dr. Eva?
Yes, I was just going to ask where glycemic index comes in, or do you still have some slides to talk about that to us?
So glycemic index will come into where we have the starchy carbohydrates. So we have something called low glycemic index. So things like the sweet potatoes, the basmati rice, okay, those are low glycemic index. Now, the reasons why I don't try it, or I tend not to emphasize on low glycemic index is people just take it and say everything that has low glycemic index I need to have. Now, chocolate is low glycemic index, okay, but then we all know chocolates have a lot of sugars in them. So it's important we identify that some starchy carbohydrates are low glycemic index, and the reason why they're beneficial is because they will digest very slowly, and those kind of foods are better have with meals, just because it won't raise the sugar levels high. And I'll give a typical example. So for instance, porridge is a low glycemic index. So if you're trying to control your type 2 diabetes, you're trying to prevent it or even manage your weight, if you have porridge in the morning as breakfast, would say semi-skimmed milk, a little bowl of porridge, half a bowl of porridge is the portion sizes you're going for. That will tend to break down very slowly. So if you have that by 8 o'clock, you might still find yourself by 11 o'clock, you're not quite hungry. And that's what porridge does, because it's very low glycemic. It will break down very slowly. And because it's breaking down slowly, your sugar levels don't tend to rise. But again, if you have porridge and you have a large portion sizes, then it will still impact on the sugar level. So it's about choosing the right glycemic index and also reducing the portion sizes. And one of the other things that probably low glycemic index as well is anything that is whole grain. So the brown bread, the brown rice. So for us in Africa, we tend to have something called ofada rice. And that's because it has a lot of fibers in them, okay? I think they call it unpolished rice, and that's because it's, the nutrients, the fiber has not been stripped of it. And it tends to be it's quite filling, and it's quite beneficial, even to diabetes. But again, it's about the portion control, because if you say you're having brown rice and is a whole plate of brown rice, then it's still going to have the same effect because your sugar level is still going to go high.
Thank you. That was clear.
Okay. Is there any other question before I move on?
Okay, we'll take this last one and then we continue. Can a low-calorie diet like ketogenic diet help to reverse type 2 diabetes?
So ketogenic diet is a diet that is very high in saturated fat and protein. Now, research-wise or clinical-wise, it is not been proven that keto diet can help to reverse type 2 diabetes. And the reason is because there's a lot of cons, a lot of side effects, a lot of disadvantages doing ketogenic diet for a longer time because we know that when you do it for a length of time, you can start to kind of release some toxic substances in the body. So it can cause gallstones, for instance. So it is not really advisable to have it for a long time. And so it doesn't tend to reduce, to reverse type 2 diabetes, to my best of knowledge. But low carb diet can tend to reverse type 2 diabetes because you're still having the amount of the required amount of carbohydrates. You're just reducing the portion sizes.
So Ola, tell us, so what is a low carb diet then? What is the
a low carb diet? It's a diet when you have a specific amount of carbohydrates in a day. Okay. Now, for people that have type 2 diabetes, you're making me jump my slide, Dr. Heba.
I'm sorry. Let's leave the question. Sorry. Sorry.
So maybe I need to kind of answer that at the end of it.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what? Let's just let you do your presentation and then we take a lot of questions come in. Then we take the questions at the end. Apologies.
Okay. Is that okay? All right. That's fine. So, okay. I will kind of, and this is just things I just want us to think about. Okay. So, these pictures are just to tell us what is healthy and what is not healthy. Now, I want everyone to consider the third picture down there for both kind of food. And unless we're not going to be honest with ourselves, I want to believe there's one point we probably have considered that as a kind of standard portion. Okay. Now, if you didn't see the effect it has on the glucose level, you wouldn't know how much you're consuming and how much effect it has on the sugar levels. But again, it's not as if there's something wrong with the food you're having. But rice, for instance, is carbohydrate and plantain is carbohydrate. So when you have rice and plantain together, that's a double whammy. That's a double carbohydrate you're having. And the body's going to treat it as excess sugars and it's going to cause the sugar levels to go high. And even for people trying to prevent having type 2 diabetes, excess calories is going to turn into fat. Okay, and if you have a lot of fat around the abdominal area, okay, it's going to cause the insulin the body is producing not to work properly, and that's what causes insulin resistance. So again, it's about thinking about what we're eating and how we can reduce it. Now, if someone had come to me to say they like to enjoy their rice and plantain and fish, but they're having a lot of portion, what can they do? So I would rather say, instead of, I don't think telling somebody whose rice or plantain is their favorite to say you can't have rice and plantain, I don't think that's sustainable. And even if they do it for a month, that's not going to be sustainable for a while. I like plantain, and I think it'll be very devastating if I don't have plantain. I don't know if I'll cope with it. But again, how can we make that better? So I would say, try to reduce your rice. So when it comes to carbohydrates, when it comes to portion sizes, when we plate our food, we want that portion sizes to be a quarter of the plate. So another way to think about it is when you plating up your food, you want to be having 1/5 of your food to be the carbohydrates. So if I'm going to have boiled rice, for instance, I will have 1/5 of boiled rice to be the portion sizes I'm having. The other quarter of the plate to be the protein, either the fish stew I'm having with it or the chicken, whatever it is. And ideally, you want to be having lots of vegetables with your food to kind of balance it out. Is that okay? Yeah. So, and I've just put this picture of a plate here just to kind of bring it into kind of like a visual representation of what I mean by a a healthy portion plate. So where is the yellow bit? That's where the carbohydrate will go, and that's just like a quarter. Where the red bit is where the sauce or the chicken or the fish we are eating it with will go, and where's the half plate is where the vegetables will go. And I think traditionally we probably don't plate our food like this. We probably have the rice and the small stew together, and that's how we eat it, and that's what makes our meal very carb heavy. But if we start separating it and start having a bit of vegetables, in some vegetables with it, it would help with our sugar levels coming down. And again, we know that following healthy portion sizes by just reducing the amount of carbohydrates you're having can aim to lead to 5% of weight loss. So aiming for a healthy portion plate every time you eat can tend to reduce the weight up to 5% of weight loss, and that's very proven. And so even if we don't have type 2 diabetes and you're just trying to prevent having type 2 diabetes, having healthy portion plates can actually just do that for us. And again, what's a portion? So when we're trying to have meals, so one fistful, like I said, of rice, that's aiming for 2 portions. Okay, if you're having bread, 1 to 2 slices of bread. If you're having like a cereal, either like a fruit fibers or brown flakes, half a bowl is the portion you want to be going for. Okay. And so this is just some of the African food that we have. And these are kind of the healthiest swaps we can have. So if we find ourselves having things like fried yam or fried plantain, I do tell people to probably go for the boiled versions of it or air fried version, or just roast it in the oven. Fried rice tend to have a lot of, because we are adding oil into it, so it's more calorific in that sense. It has a lot of, it might have more cholesterol into it. So go for boiled basmati rice or brown rice. And again, sweet bread tend to quite have a lot of sugars in them. So we go for like something like a whole grain bread. And again, this is what I mean by healthy portion. Okay, so if I was going to have rice, okay, and I know this doesn't have the stew in it, so probably I won't have my rice like this without the stew, but I'll probably have the fish with the stew. And so you'll probably have just a tiny small rice with a fish, but also a lot of vegetables in it. And the pictures on my left here is just a way of saying we can still have the same food, but also it's the portion sizes that matters. So the first fish, the first plate there is just small banku with a fish and a bit of vegetables. And also we can see the impacts of the sugar levels that it's going to have on the blood glucose level. Okay. So for people trying to manage and prevent their diabetes, what are the top tips I will be giving them today? So, and again, I think that's one of the questions we had earlier on when someone was saying, is it advisable to just have one heavy meal in the afternoon? And that's what I was trying to say. Having one meal in the afternoon raises the sugar level. So I will say, try to aim for 3 regular meals spread across the day. So something at breakfast, something at lunch, something at evening meal. Okay. And again, thinking about the quantity of the carbohydrates, that is what is going to cause the sugar levels to go high. That is what is going to make us, if you're trying to prevent diabetes. We want to be cutting down on the fried food as well, the fried plantain, the meat pie, the puff, because we know that these foods, because we fried them, they become more calorific. And the more calories we have, the body's going to develop insulin resistance. Okay, so we want to be cutting them down and probably steam or bake them instead of frying them. Now, things like fizzy drinks or malt drinks has a lot of sugars in them. So where we can, we just try to cut them down. And when we're having fruit, it's about having things like fruit across the day as fruit and aiming for about 2 to 3 portions. So anything that fits in our palm is in our fist is a portion. Okay, and just try to kind of balance it across the day, spreading it across the day. And I know we all know about physical activity, and it's one of those things where probably people might struggle to do physical activities. maybe because of their kind of jobs or one thing or the other. But we know that having moderate intense activities helps with the sugar levels coming down. It helps to prevent the weight rising. So for people trying to lose weight or wanting to prevent the diabetes, it helps. And what I say is this: if I think, or if I'm seeing someone and they think they can't manage 30 minutes at a stretch, it's okay to do like 15 minutes there and there and just gradually bulk it up like that. And we know with alcohol, the recommendation is 14 units per week for men and women, but most with emphasis to have 2 or 3 days of alcohol free, just to have that, give that body that rest it needs from the alcohol. So I've put a success stories here just to kind of bring a bit of what I've done in practice or what my clinic looks like and kind of the thing. So I had this gentleman come to me, and his BMI was 32, his weight was 97 kilograms. So Mr. Hay was African Nigerian, okay, I think. And at that time, he just had his blood results, and the GP said, "Oh, we've got a dietitian. Do you want to go speak to a dietitian?" He didn't want to go on any medications at that time because he felt he wanted to use dietary changes to make some modifications to make some changes. At that point, I got to understand that he had family history of diabetes. I think his parent, but also his job is quite very sedentary, so he probably is not quite active. But also his meals are quite very carb heavy, so he wouldn't have breakfast because of job. He would probably have 1 meal in the evening, but also tend to snack a lot. So we did a lot of work about trying to educate him about what type of diabetes is, but also how we can use the diet to kind of modify his meals. So some of the things I suggested to him was to reduce his carbohydrate portion at each meal. And we went about showing him how he can have that healthy portion plate and just aim for one fist of rice if he's having rice. If he was having yam, we'll probably have just 4 tiny pieces of yam and bulk it up with a lot of vegetables. And also cut out a lot of added sugars. So he was having a lot of ice creams and cakes and things like that. And then he increases physical activity. And then in 3 months, the weight has gone down. Okay, he has lost 10 kilograms and his HbA1c is back to pre-diabetes. And I'm hoping that he will continue to work on rice levels so he doesn't progress to having type 2 diabetes, which is a fantastic thing. So this just shows me that we can use diet to modify our diabetes. We can do it. Okay, there is evidence that suggests that having diet and diabetes, using diet to reduce the sugar levels is actually good. And so I was just going to finish off the slides on this restricted diet. And I think this is where Dr. Iba was asking me about what is low calorie diet, what's low carb diet. Now, low carb diet is when we try to aim from 90 to 130 grams of carbohydrate per day. Okay, then people tend to say, how would I know what that means? Okay, now, how would you know is this? This would require a bit of mathematics and a bit of having like a scale, like a nutrition scale in the kitchen, where you have to weigh out your food. And the food you're weighing out is the cooked version, not the raw version. So when I say have 30 grams of rice, it's not 30 grams of uncooked rice, it's 30 grams of cooked rice. So you want to have 30 grams of carbohydrate for breakfast, 30 grams of carbohydrate for lunch, and 30 grams of carbohydrate for evening meal. Again, we want to spread that amount of carbohydrate equally across the day. The remaining grams, which is about 20 or 30 grams there, is for the snacks. Okay, so if you're going to have 1 or 2 pieces of fruit, then you can have it. So, for instance, if I was going to say breakfast, so if you're going to have bread, so 1 slice of bread, wholemeal bread is 15 grams of carbohydrates. So if you have 2 slices of bread in the morning, that's 30 grams of carbohydrates. When it comes to lunchtime, if you're going to have a quarter plate of rice, which is again 30 grams of carbohydrates. And when it comes to evening meal, a quarter plate of either plantain, a quarter plate of either yam, that's another 30 grams. Again, it's about weighing them to know that they're 30 grams. Okay, we know that following this low calorie diet helps to actually reduce the weight by 5 to 10%. Now, recently there's something that's called very low calorie diet. And this is where we are really restricting the diet that we eat or the calories that we eat. And this, again, evidence has shown that helps to reduce the sugar levels and also puts the diabetes into remission. But the only side effects I tend to see is that I've seen in practice is you have to go on a very low calorie diet for about 3 months. Then they will reintroduce you back to food after 3 months. People tend to kind of feel it can become boring and monotonous having the same thing every time. But it works for people who can persevere. They have that 800 calories, and in 3 months, we reintroduce them back to food and their sugar levels comes down. But I would just say, if anyone is on any medication that causes their sugar levels to go low, or they're on insulin and they want to try any of this low calorie diet or very low calorie diets, they need to speak to the GP so they can refer them to the dietitian, because then they need to kind of adjust their medication accordingly. Okay, and I will take any questions so we can have time for questions. Dr. Eva, over to you.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you so much. Do you want to start sharing so we can start the discussion? I think we have a little over 10 minutes, and we have some questions in the chat box. So,
okay.
Yes. So let me start reading the questions from the bottom. So from Phyllis. Phyllis says, thanks to Ola for the insightful presentation. Could you please touch on non-nutritive sweetness? How beneficial are they, and what should we watch out for?
So non-nutritive sweetness are things like they won't cause your sugar levels to go high. Can you still hear me? I feel like
yes, we can. We can hear you.
So they are non-nutritive because they are artificial. So they will not cause the sugar levels to go high. So there are things that has things like aspartame and canderol and things like that. However, there is a lot of research, inconclusive research, kind of saying they might potentially have some adverse effects, but there's nothing conclusive to say you can't have it. My personal take is this: if you can't have your food without sugar and you're trying not to, then please have it without it. Now, again, with every kind of conditions, or again, with something like diabetes, it might be 10 years down the line, we might kind of, a research might come to say, oh, aspartame causes this and this. So we don't know. So people tend to be quite cautious, and I understand. And that's because there's so much inconclusive evidence or research regarding the long-term or the side effect of using things like non-nutritive sweetness.
Thank you, Ola, for that. Someone says, are eggs good for type 2 diabetics?
So eggs are protein, okay? They don't have any sugars in them. They won't cause your sugar levels to go high, okay? And also we know that egg in itself doesn't cause our cholesterol levels to go high, because the cholesterol we find in eggs, our body can digest it. The cholesterol that raise our body are the ones that our body can digest. So eggs is fine to have.
Okay, so eggs are fine to have. Now, Sarah says, a friend told me, try spelt bread. I don't know what spelt bread is. It turned out to be good for diabetics, as it didn't raise my glucose. Shall we leave out breads for it? I don't know what is spelt bread. Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
Can you clarify what that is? We don't know what that bread is.
Yeah, please.
Okay, whilst you're doing that, I think there was another question that I missed. And people are free to raise their hands up if they want to speak or contribute or ask a question. Follow-up question to the one on the sugars. Is honey a good replacement of refined sugars for diabetics?
No, it's not. So honey has the same effect as sugars. It will raise our sugar levels high. And I know it has other benefit, but when it comes to diabetes, no, it's not.
Yeah, and we've said this a number of times that don't just replace your sugar with honey and take it in excess. It will have the same effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then someone says, what's the connection between obesity and diabetes, please?
Very connected. So when we have obesity, it just means that we carry the weight or the fat around our abdominal area, and that tends to lead to insulin resistance. Okay. Now, insulin resistance means that the body is not, the amount of insulin the body is producing is not working properly. So we know that if we lose weight, the sugar levels become better, our control of diabetes become better.
Thank you, Ola, for that. Very succinct. How much calories should a diabetic patient have in a day?
I wouldn't put a number on it, and I try to treat everybody as individual. Okay, so where are they in their journey of type of the diabetes? We have patients who have, I have patients who are type 2 diabetes, or quite very sporty as well. Okay, so I wouldn't put a number on it. If you're trying to just, if you're quite newly diagnosed and you're just trying to watch your weight and things like that, I will say it's the same number of calories every adult should have. So we know for a adult, a woman should have no more than 2,000 calories a day, and a man should have 2,500 calories a day. However, if you're trying to lose weight, then we need to start from a deficit of 500 calories. So again, depending on where the patient is, depending on what medication they're taking, I will say if you just have like a healthy meals, regular meals, controlling your size, portion sizes, I think your calories will be fine.
So about that, I tend to have an issue with calories, because at the end of the day, not everyone really, and when I don't deal with diabetic patients, I do public health nutrition, so I talk to the public, so people who don't have specific health conditions. How does 2,000 calories look like?
It's very hard to know what 2,000 calories looks like. And that's why we have food labelings right now. And I know it's hard for people to go shopping and you're looking at your food, but there are different kind of apps right now that is available. One of them is My Fit app, where you can actually just scan the picture and it will probably give you what equivalent of the calories is like. Okay.
Ola, but what about our African foods? Because if I'm eating plantain and I'm eating banku, would I get that on any app?
You would not, because I don't think we're quite developed like that.
You would not. So I wondered if there was a simpler way for people to just, it doesn't have to be accurate, but how do we know we are not having too much of calories? Yeah.
Yes. So I tend to go by people using cups to measure what they're eating. Okay. So having average of, so I would say if you're going to have Gary, for instance, you want to be having average of a small cup of you to be eaten. Now, it's not to measure it after it's been cooked, because if you measure it before it's being cooked, it's a two different thing. So if you have a cup of rice when it's being cooked, before it's being cooked is about 200 calories. So it's two different. It's too different. So we need to be measuring after it's been cooked.
Right. Could we also say, that plate you showed, that just to simplify, the same question I asked, like for each meal, so breakfast, if we could just picture having that thing you showed us on your slide, that a quarter of our plate needs to be the starchy staples. A lot of the times, people from within our community, we have half or 3/4 of our plate.
And that's why. So within our community, our food, the starchy food is the basis, is the bigger component. It needs to be the smaller component.
It needs to be one.
The vegetables, it needs to be the more component of it. Okay. And also the protein needs to be small. because the way we cook our protein is going to impact on the calories we're going to consume as well. So if you fried your meat, for instance, if you're having 2 pieces of fish, those are still calories if you're trying to watch your calories. So essentially, when you plate your food up, the starchy carbohydrate, the staples, the yam, the plantain needs to be the smallest on your plate. So when you look at your food, it's full of vegetables, more like.
Which doesn't happen, So I just wanted to clarify the question I asked. So what we are saying is that for each meal, let 1/4 of your plate be your starchy carbohydrate.
Absolutely.
So and that looks like your fist.
Yeah. So anything that fits in your fist.
Banku, yes, it's just one fist. Then it doesn't have to be, because some of us don't have cut vegetables. So even if you're like, it could be your spinach sauce, it could be
absolutely. It can be anything. It can be anything you've cooked. So I'll give you an example. When I'm having my plantain and sauce, for instance, I will make the spinach like a normal, like a stew or like a sauce, but full of it. But 1/4 of it will be my boiled plantain.
Yeah.
Again, it's not because I'm not having it with salad, but that vegetables you're having with as well make it more like half of the plate of the salad, of the plate.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Something I was going. Yes, something I needed. One of the, I don't know if it's a myth or a fad. Can diabetic patients eat plantain?
They can. And again, I said to people, if you start to cut out your food, how are you going to sustain? Is it sustainable for you? Again, I've seen people say they want to go on a zero carb diet, and by a month's time, they fall off the wagon, and the amount of carbohydrates they consume is much more than what they were consuming before. The key is about moderation. The key is about knowing the portion, and the key is about being aware that this food, if I have this many, my sugar levels will go high this many. If I have just a tiny bit, then my sugar levels will not rise as much. Yeah, so my simple answer will be yes. A diabetic patient can have plantain, but the key to it is about portion control.
It's about portion control. And for you to be able to manage that, if you are diabetic, you need to speak to registered dietitian, registered nutritionist for them to help you, guide you, for you to get these portions right. Is there anything called food triggers for type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Say something about that.
People that have food triggers are people that are trying to either, maybe they're on insulin, okay, or they're probably on a particular medication that drops them too low. Now, people who are probably not newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes might not realize their food triggers just because they might not be fingerprinting their sugar levels. And this can be different for different people. So I've seen patients that they've said to me, when I eat mango, my sugar levels go right. Some people have said when I eat rice, it goes really high. And I've had people that say, oh, mango doesn't bother me. But generally, some food tend to have more sugars in them, more carbohydrates in them, even fruit. So bananas is one of them. So banana has a lot of sugars in them. And potentially, it can trigger people. It can be like a food triggers for people, and the sugar levels just spikes. So they might not normally have like high sugar levels, but because they've eaten banana, their sugar levels spikes. So those are food triggers.
So what do you advise people like that who have those food triggers?
Again, do you like bananas? As a compromise, do you like bananas? Are you going to give it up? Okay. Are you able to have half of banana? Would you just have once in a while? And don't forget, because people that live with type 2 diabetes or diabetes generally, they're already making a lot of sacrifice, a lot of health conscious. And so for me to tell them you can't have bananas because it's rising your sugar levels just tiny bit, I think is a bit unfair, in my opinion. Okay, but it's about how well do you want to control your diabetes? Where are you in your diabetes journey? Okay, but if every side of your diabetes is good, you're trying everything, you're cutting down your portion sizes, you're trying to increase your vegetables, and it's just the banana that's making your sugar levels goes high, and we identify that, and you like banana, I'm going to say to you, have half banana.
Okay. Ola, there are still lots of questions coming. Unfortunately, our time is up. It's 7 o'clock. I want to assure the audience here that the whole of this month is for diabetes. So apologies, we can't take any more questions. Next week, Tuesday, we're going to talk about gestational diabetes, so we can still answer some of these questions. The week after, we'll talk about diabetes in children, type 1 diabetes. So please do join us every Tuesday, because we are always going to have these discussions. We do know every Saturday when we have the GPs and you know, the medical doctors talking about the health conditions, they emphasize that the best way to manage it is actually not to get it, to prevent it. All of us here are at risk of getting type 2 diabetes because of our background, being Black or of Caribbean origin. So if we don't have type 2 diabetes already, let us try and engage in these sessions, learn. Someone says knowledge is power. Let's get empowered, you know, so that we can prevent it. And then I said earlier on that we all know 1 or 2 people in our families who have type 2 diabetes. And when people have this, it impacts all of us. So let us join these sessions, engage, learn, so we can help ourselves, our family members, manage these diseases. It's no longer a death sentence, as Ola said. We can live healthily with diabetes if we do have diabetes. So on that note, I would like to say a very big thank you to Ola. There are a lot of comments in the chat box to say it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed it. We just wish we had more time, but we are going to invite you again for you to come and answer some more questions. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. We hope you found it useful. We are here again next Tuesday for gestational diabetes, another very important topic. So please do well to join us. I'm going to hand it over to CAHN now. Elizabeth, if you can take over. Thank you. Thanks, Ola.
Over to you, Orlando.
Hey, thank you, Ola, for that amazing talk on diabetes. I hope everyone's going to stay, because now it's time for the physical aspect of today's session. So as promised, we have another banging boxer size session coming your way. All right, so all you need for today's session is a mat, a space as per usual, plenty of water at hand as well. And also, if you have any enhancements, like I said last week, cans of tomato, any tin cans or dumbbells, you can bring those in also. All right, so let's get started with a warm-up. Let me get my music on. I'm going to start nice and light with 30-second shadow skip. All right, get yourself ready. To a 30-second shadow skip. All right, get to your spaces, my people. Exercise time. All right, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's go straight into a shadow skip. Let's go. Keep it nice and light to start off with. Always warm that body up. Keep that going. Three, 2, 1. Let's go into straight. Jab cross. Let's go. Again, nice and light. We're just using the upper body to start off with. Keep that going. Three, 2, 1. Let's go. Uppercuts now. Let's go. Really roll them shoulders. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone at home, give yourself 15 seconds. Get your breath back. Get a quick water break if you need it. And then we're going straight back into the warm-up. Okay, people, back to your spaces, Let's continue with this warm-up, okay? So next we've got star jumps, okay? 30 seconds of star jumps. Let's get ready, we're in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Five seconds. 2, 1. Okay, back into straights. So jab, cross. This time, let's get the lower body in there. Okay, so forward, turn. Forward, turn. Let's go. Really turn that lower body to the punch. Keep that going, keep that going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next one. In your guard. Push it from that back leg. 2 steps forward, body shot, head shot. 2 steps back. Watch again. 2 steps forward, body shot, face shot. Using that front leg. 2 steps back. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Keep that going, people. Keep that going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last 30 seconds. Shadow skip. Let's go. Okay, if you can, let's go 1 leg. If not, stay with 2. That's fine. Change legs. Three, 2, 1. Okay, quick rest. 15-second rest. And then we're going to go into round 1, my people. Okay, my people, listen in. So round number 1 in the ring, we've got a leg round. Okay, leg focused round. So combo will stay the same throughout the round. What we're going to do, we're going to work each combo 3 times, and then we're going to get into our exercise move. Okay, so what's the combo? Combo stays the same. So in your guard here, there you go. Jab, cross, hook, and then we're going to go to the body. Watch again. Jab, cross, hook to the face, hook to the body. We're going to do that combo 3 times, and then we've got 6 squats, nice and deep. Okay, watch again. Face, body, 3 times. Then we go straight into 6 squats, and then we go straight back into our combo. All right, first round, people. Let's get ready. See your spaces. Let's go. Okay, let's Let's get busy now. Get ready. Let's start that combo in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Get that power into them punches, people. 6 squats. Once you've done your squats, straight back into the combo. And 6 squats. Keep working, people. Let's go, people. Coming up to halfway now. Keep working the combo. Keep working the squats. That's halfway. Keep going. Last 45 seconds, my people. Keep working it. Make sure you're throwing nice hard combos. Last 30 seconds. Seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's time, people. Back to your corners. Quick water break, 30 seconds. Round number 1 down. Well done. Seconds, my people. And we're back in the ring for round 2. So everyone bring your mats in now as well. These bad boys in. Okay, so next round we've got chest and arm focus round with the combos. All right, so we're going to work this in 6 30-second segments. All right, so 6 30-second segments. So make sure you listen out for my call to switch from combo to exercise. All right, so combo will stay the same throughout. What we do, nice and simple, 30 seconds. We've got 4 straights for power. So 1, 2, 3, 4. From there, we've got 6 uppercuts for power. All right, so I'm not really bothered about the speed, rolling shoulders, really turn into those punches. 6. All right, so here again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and hard. From there, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna go there for 30 seconds. From there, we've got our mats out, ready? I'm gonna go knees. I'm gonna go press ups. All right, so first round, we're gonna go normal width. So shoulder width apart, press ups. Remember from last week, shoulders and hips go down at the same time. So we go here, bam, chest about 2 inches from the floor, push back up. All right, and then from there, we go straight back into our combo. All right, round number 2, people. Let's get busy. Let's get busy. So start with your combo. 4 straights, 6 uppercuts, all for power. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Stop. So you're ready, turning that body into the punch. And don't forget the leg work. Turn those hips. Keep working, people. 3, 2, 1. To the mat, let's go. Keep working, people. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Change level. Back to your feet. Straight back into the dumbbell. Let's go. Keep that going. Hit the mat in 3, 2, 1. Let's hit the mat. Keep that going. Get those push-ups nice and deep. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. To your feet. Last go around. Let's go. Straight to T combo. We're hitting the mat in 3, 2, 1. Let's go to the mat. Let's go. Ten seconds, people. Keep doing the push-ups. Let's go. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On time, my people. Quick water break, 30 seconds. Round 2 down. Put your mats aside. You're going to need them for round number 4. 15 seconds, people. Okay, listening while you rest. So next we've got a defensive combo round. All right, defensive combo round. Okay, and we'll add to the first combo every 60 seconds. All right, so watch now. See the first 60 seconds. In your guard, slip left, come with your left hook. Don't forget your lower body work as well. All right, don't forget that lower body. So here, slip, hook, cross, hook. Okay, watch again. First minute. So slip, hook, cross, hook. All right, that's your first minute, people. Defensive combo round coming at you now. Let's get ready. Let's start. Get ready. Let's start in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. We get our lower body work. Keep working it, people. "20 seconds. Last 10. Okay, let's add to it now. So, after that last hook, we've got 10 uppercuts as quick as you can. So watch again. Slip, hook, cross, hook, and then 10 there, nice and quick. All right, second minute, let's get ready. 3, 2, 1, put it together, let's go. Keep going, people. Last 20 seconds. Last 15. Three, 2, 1. Okay, last minute. Get a little bit more complicated now. So after your last uppercut, we're gonna add a duck, weave, nice and quick. Get down the way them hooks. So watch it all together. Slip, 2, 3, 10 there. 10, and then duck, weave, move. All right, last minute, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Start off slow, people. Speed on, you get the hang of it. Let's go. 20 seconds gone. Last 20 seconds. Keep it going. Come on. Last 10 seconds, my people. Three, 2, 1. Back to your corners, my people. Rest time. Three rounds down. bring your mats back in for the last round. We have an ab round. All right, summer's coming up. Let's get them strong stomachs ready to go. Okay, again, so this round will be run again in 6 30-second segments. All right, and the combo will stay the same throughout, but the exercise will change twice. All right, so watch again, watch it in your guard. So here in our guard, we've got double jab. So throw our jab out, bring the elbow back slightly, snap it out again. From there, cross right to the chin, and then 2 hooks to the face. Watch again. So double jab, cross, hook, hook, nice and quick. Watch again. Double jab, cross, hook, hook. From there, we're going to hit the mats. So first round, we've got normal sit-ups, touching in between the legs, all right? Working on those washboard abs. So we're here, legs apart, and then we're going to go there. Nice and strong. Okay. So down here, touch in between your legs. Why Alexa's talking to me right now, but let's pluck her out. All right, so start with your combo. All right, double jab, cross, 2 hooks to the face for 30 seconds. All right, let's get ready. Let's get ready. So your 30 seconds starts in 3, 2, 1, go. Keep that going, people. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's hit the mats. Full sit-ups. Let's go, people. Keep that going, 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1. Change levels, back to your feet. Back to that combo, let's go. Seconds. 3, 2, 1. To the mats. It's time now. As you come up, go to the side. Change sides every time. Let's go. 30 seconds. Go. Keep that going, people. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Change level. Last minute. Let's go. Back straight into your combo. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1. That's one now. So full sit up. Going high into the air. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Keep going, people. Finish strong. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Time, my people. Give yourself a 30-second water break, and then we'll cool down and stretch off. Well done. So well done tonight, people. 4 strong combos, rounds that we went through there. So well done, everybody at home. All right, let's start off with alternate high knees in place. Let's go. Let's cool the body down now. Bring that heart rate back down. Okay, next side to side. Ear to shoulder. Okay, torso twist. Okay, hip rotations. Change direction. Front to back. Okay, down into a squat. Push your legs into your knees, push out. And up. Okay, legs together, touch your toes. And up, nice and slow. Last one, feet together. Bring your heel to your bum. Change legs. Shake it all off. Last time, people. Well done. Give yourself a round of applause. Elizabeth, are you in the house? Well done.
Thank you so much for that, Orlando.
Well done, everybody. Ooh.
Yes, thank you so much for tonight's session, Orlando. How did everyone find this evening's session? Just feel free to use the chat box and put in some comments, feedback, use the emojis. If for those of us that are joining on Facebook and YouTube, let us know how you found this evening session. We want to hear from yourselves, how you're finding the physical activity that we do every week. Let us know how you're finding the session. Orlando, how did you find this evening? What are some of the things that we could improve on? And, some of the topics and areas that we're going to focus on in the next coming weeks.
Well done, everybody, for tonight. Good session. I think 4 pretty hard rounds there. which combine the full body exercises. So well done to everybody at home. If anybody struggles with anything or needs any advice on anything to do with exercise, the last few sessions we've been doing, then feel free to drop me a line, orlando@CAHN.org.uk, or you can find me on Instagram at OrlandoBrandPT.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Orlando. So I believe my colleagues will type your contact details in the chat box. Feel free to engage and connect with Orlando outside of this session, and just feel free to communicate with him and ask him any questions, any areas you would like to improve on.
Yeah,
or
anything big or small. Like I said, here at CAHN, we're here for all of these, okay? We care about all of these. So no matter what your question is, feel free to bring it on. It's all good.
Good. That's great. So thank you again, Orlando. Thank you again, Dr. Hiba and Olabisi, for this evening's session. And we look forward to seeing you all next week, same time, same place for Healthy Hearts. So that will be from 6 till 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday evening. Don't forget to join our CATIP Health Hour. That is also on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12:15. And do tune in if you'd like to be a part of those sessions. Don't forget to email us at health@cahn.org.uk to register for those sessions. We look forward to seeing you all. Don't forget our helpline service is available throughout the week. If you have any questions or would like anyone to talk to, our counseling service is available and our helpline is available. I believe my colleagues are posting those in the chat box, so feel free to use those contact details there as well. We hope everyone has a lovely evening and we look forward to seeing you all soon.
Well done, everybody. Rest well, drink plenty of water, and have a great week.